So a while back, I watched a video. It was of someone going over, what they had on their modded Vita, why you should get it in 2021, that sort of thing. And it did make me want to get one. I bought one about 2 months ago. I had it, and I will say it's worth it. Or at the very least, looking into, if you're someone who's looking for a handheld, or you've never had a Vita and you think you might want to play some of the games, I think it is worth it. It's not too expensive, and this video, it's not gonna explain to you how to mod it or exactly what you need. I'm gonna leave the video that I used for that in the description. And also keep in mind that you will need a few extra things to mod it that are gonna cost you a few extra bucks, 30-40 bucks. And also, which Vita you have is gonna determine what you need for it. So I have the OLED version, there's a slim version, and which one you have is going to determine what you need to buy for it. So there's that too. That's also explained in the video that I leave in the descriptions. I'm going to start off small and then work our way up into the stuff that's really important, why you should really buy a Vita and mod it. So with that said, let's get into it. So we're gonna start off first with, general customization type stuff. So you can get custom themes from an app that you can download. It's very simple to use, very easy. You can sort stuff, find whatever you want, you can search. A lot of the themes there, they're very high quality. They're as good, if not better, than the ones that you would buy from the PlayStation store. Obviously you don't need to mod a Vita to get themes for it, but the ones that are from the app are free, and like I said, they are just as good as any of the ones that you buy. You can also change the boot splash and warning messages, so if you want to do something with that, that's there. So the next thing we're going to go over is something called Vita Shell. It's the Vita's all-in-one file manager. You would use it to transfer things from the Vita to the computer, or computer to the Vita. So if you download a game on your computer, you would use this to put it onto your Vita. You can also use it to apply patches. So if you have a Japanese game, you can download the patch, apply it to the game. It's very simple, but it's very important. You're probably going to use it a lot if you mod the Vita. The next thing we're going to go over is something called Auto Plugin 2. This is where you download all your plugins. Plugins are things that can range from a little tweak to something that adds a whole functionality to the system. So for example, the only reason why I can stream footage of the Vita is because of a plugin. There's plugins that let you overclock it. Overclocking the Vita to the max only gets you maybe a boost of like 3 to 4 frames, but that 3 to 4 frames can be the difference between a game running in 30 with dips to 28 to a lock solid 30. It helps. You can add a frame counter. You can add Bluetooth support with all the different PlayStation controllers. You can use a PlayStation 3, 4, or 5 controller and control the Vita with it. This is good if you want to put the Vita on a stand, have it sitting up somewhere, and then just play sitting back. You can do that. Or if you play a lot of fighting games, being able to just turn on a controller and just play using that, that helps for, fighting games the most, definitely. There are a few more things you can do, but all in all, those are the most important, I would say. So yeah. So next we're going to talk about the Vita Homebrew Browser. Now we're getting into stuff that's really important, stuff that you can use to play games on the Vita. Homebrew basically means custom software, stuff that people made to use on the Vita. If we start off on the Games tab, you'll find a lot of very, I don't want to say cheap, but they're definitely low quality, low budget. They're not super insane games. There's stuff that maybe you download a few and maybe you like, some of them. I haven't played any of them because I haven't been interested in them, but maybe you can find some that you like. The next tab, the Ports tab, that's where you'll find actual games because, they're port, games that people ported from something else and ported it to the Vita. Really big ones are Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas, Vice City, Grand Theft Auto 3, Quake. You can play some Sonic games. I know they got Doom. There's a lot of stuff there, and it's something that's, expanding. They add more games all the time. Games get updated to run better, so that's definitely a big part of the Vita and modding it. Next tab is emulation. So now we're gonna go over emulation itself on the Vita. It's probably one of the biggest reasons why you would get a Vita is to, emulate a bunch of games on it. You can get up to 8-bit and 16-bit, which is NES, SNES, Game Boy. You can get PS1 games and PSP games and N64 games. Not every N64 game works flawlessly, but most of them work, perfectly, like very solid, like you could just play the whole game on your PS Vita. It's pretty cool. The thing about the PSP emulator though is that what it does is it actually turns your Vita into a PSP. So it boots up the old PSP OS and it works exactly like the original PSP. It's pretty cool, and it also means that any game that you download for the PSP works perfectly, works as it should, as it would run on a PSP. But a bonus is you have the added functionality of the extra stick on the Vita, so you can actually use that for certain games and add it to as, another button, so for the original PSP, it was one stick. So for most games to aim, you would use the D-pad, which is above the left stick, so it's not the best control. So being able to add the right stick to a bunch of games, it's not a big deal, but it's definitely something. If you're into retro gaming, emulation, I think the Vita is a very good device for it, something to consider, especially stuff like GBA, Game Boy games, PSP games, stuff that's originally portable. Being able to actually play it on a portable system rather than downloading an emulator on your computer, it feels a lot nicer. And me personally, I'm more likely to actually finish the game and actually play it rather than just play it for like a few minutes and then hop off. Definitely a big part of modding the Vita is the emulation, definitely. So PKGJ, by far the most useful, important app you will get for a modded Vita. What this app does is it lets you download any and all PS Vita games, PS1 games, or PSP games that are on the PSN store or have ever been on the PSN store. It's very simple. It's as simple as finding what you want. You can search it up, click it, and then boom, it's downloading on your Vita just like any regular game would. It goes deeper than that though. The reason I say that is, earlier I said any game that has been on the PSN store ever. And the reason why that's a big deal is there are a few pretty important games that have been delisted from the PSN store. So the PS Vita, just to quickly go over it, it came out in 2013 and got discontinued in 2015, so it didn't have a long lifespan. In 2022, it is very hard to find PlayStation Vita games, especially like the physical versions of the games. It's not as easy as just going to GameStop and then picking up a PlayStation Vita game, especially if you want certain ones. You're gonna have to go on eBay and find them, or look on Amazon and you see that they're $100. The next best bet would be to just go on the PlayStation store and get what you can get. The problem with that is there are a few games that have been delisted that are very crucial to the Vita's library overall as a whole. These are games like Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 collection, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, J-Star's Victory Versus, the entire Danganronpa collection, 1, 2, and 3. These are not little low-tier, B-tier indie games. These are games. These are games that you could very easily justify going out and buying a Vita for these games alone. So I think PKGJ letting you download these games is a big deal. Also, it's not region locked, so you can download a Japanese game, a European game. Being able to download a Japanese game very easily, then just apply an English patch to it. Again, it is something that adds value, you know. That's a lot of more games that you can play. This is a very busted application, and you could very much well justify buying a Vita for just this application alone. So that's all I'm gonna say on that. That's pretty much the end. So that should cover everything about, you know, buying a PS Vita, what it looks like when it's modded. If you've watched the video to the end, I'm sure you can decide on your own whether or not you think it's worth it. Maybe you might have a friend who might be into this. Even if you don't end up buying it, I think this information is cool. I think it's cool to know that the Vita, this old ass device that's been discontinued since 2015, can do these things. I think it's pretty cool, and it's not that expensive. That wraps up this whole segment of the video. I'm gonna have another part, another half. That's just gonna be me going over my Vita in general, mainly what games I have. I'm gonna go over it one by one, you know, my brief thoughts on the games. Some of the games I'm very familiar with. Maybe I've beaten them or I've played them when I was a lot younger. Some of them I've played for 20 minutes, 10 minutes. So the range of what I say might range from 10 seconds to 2 minutes. I'm gonna start with the emulators and, you know, go into the PSP and then save the PS Vita games for last. Starting off with Super Mario 64. I mean, it's Super Mario 64. Probably considered one of the greatest games of all time, one of Nintendo's best games, one of Mario's best games. I played the DS version a lot when I was younger. I played this version, the N64 version on the Vita a little bit. I mean, it's still a fun game. It's still a really good game. It controls well, the music is nice, the levels are nice. It's Super Mario 64. Not much to say. I'd give it a 10 out of 10. Smash Bros 64. I'm a big Smash fan. I've played all of them, technically, but the ones that I've played like a lot are Smash 4 and Ultimate. This one, it still feels really good. It still feels fun. Even for an N64 game, it still feels like Smash. You know, there's only a few characters, but it's still fun. You know, it's not like you play it and it's so bad that, like, you know, you can't have fun. It's good. Give it a 10 out of 10. Now on to the Game Boy Advance games. The very first one, something called Alien Hominid. I only got it because I thought it looked cool. I saw it on some sort of YouTube video. It's fun. It's pretty hard. I would say it's a good game. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Sonic Advance 2 and 3. Sonic Advance 1 is still a good game. If you're a fan of the side-scrolling Sonic platforming games, I would still say play 1 if you haven't, but after playing 2 and 3, it's hard to just go back and play 1. That's why I only have 2 and 3 on here. I haven't played them at all. I only have them on here because I played them as a kid, but I do know that they're good games, especially good Game Boy games, so I'd give them both an 8 out of 10. The last one, Sonic Battle, I never played it as a kid, so it's something that I just wanted to try out for a few minutes. It's alright, you know, like it's not that good, but I'd give it a 6 out of 10. We're on to the PSP games. So the very first one, Patapon 2. Really good game. It's one of those series that it's not well known. I don't hear like anyone ever talk about Patapon. Patapon is so amazing, but it's a really good game. All of them are, but 2 is probably the best. 3 kind of takes it in a different direction, but I would say definitely play 2, especially if you get a PSP or a Vita. You know, there's no reason not to, so I would give Patapon 2 honestly a 9 out of 10. Really good game. The Warriors. This is a beat 'em up style game made by Rockstar. It came out on the PS2 and then they made it for the PSP. It's good, but it's not spectacular. Like, it's not something I would say you would play if you didn't already like beat 'em ups, you know, these types of games. It's something interesting, you know, like it's cool to know that Rockstar made a beat 'em up Warriors game, but besides that, you know, like the novelty, it's nothing crazy. I'd give it a Give it a 6.5 out of 10. Persona 3 Portable. This is a fantastic RPG. Still one of the best. This version of it might be the best version depending on what you're looking for. This is surprisingly the only version of the game where you can control each party member individually. All the other ones, you can control the main character and the other party members are on AI. But this one, surprisingly, the PSP version, you can control everyone. So you could say it has the best gameplay. It's also stripped back in the sense that there's no open world. You're not walking around the maps like you would in the PS2 versions. It's just like little pictures and then you move an icon and that's how you move around. That could be a good or a bad thing depending on who you are. You know, some people like that it's more straightforward. If you like 4 and 5 and you haven't played 3, it's still worth playing. It's not like it's something that is way worse than the ones that came after. It still has great characters, really good story, really good music, you know, amazing music, and definitely worth playing. Yeah, I'd give it a 10 out of 10, definitely. Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi Tag Team. It's a PSP version of basically the Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi game. Everyone's played one of those games on the PlayStation 2, I imagine. It's really fun. It's just cool to have something like that on the PSP. It's cool to just play for nostalgia. I used to play it a lot with my brother. I don't play it a lot. It's not the greatest game in the world, but it's something a little special, you know. Like there hasn't been anything since the Budokai Tenkaichi series, so I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Give it an 8 out of 10 for what it is. It's good. Midnight Club LA Remix. Back when Rockstar did things, you know, other than Grand Theft Auto, they would make a racing game, and this one's really, really good. If you like the Need for Speed street racing type games, you know, where you just race, get money, and then use the money to buy and upgrade cars, it's just that. The racing in this one is really good though. I've put in a good like 3 to 4 hours though, because you know it's really fun, especially for a PSP game. Having a street racing game on the go is nice. And I'd give it a 8.5 out of 10. Yu-Gi-Oh! Tag Force. If you like Yu-Gi-Oh! You'll like this game. You make a character and then you hop in a little overworld and then you battle, you get money. Use the money to buy cards to make decks and then you battle more. It's very straightforward. You just walk around and there's a bunch of people, from named characters from the show to just random NPCs, and you can battle like anybody. Just anybody. You walk up to them, you say, hey, let's duel, and then you duel. Very simple, very good. I mean, I like Yu-Gi-Oh! And this is, you know, a more stripped back version of it, because it gets kind of crazy now. I don't know what's going on now with the card game, but if you like Yu-Gi-Oh! Definitely get this game. I'd give it a 9 out of 10, honestly, just because for what it is, it's really solid, really good. Naruto Ultimate Ninja Impact. This is kind of a spin-off, of the Ultimate Ninja Storm game, except it's not a fighting game. Now it's a action, like Dynasty Warriors type game. It's good. It's nothing amazing, but it's definitely good. It has the same music from the Storm series, so that's a plus. I would say it has really good music. The graphics are pretty nice. It's made by the same people, so it does have a level of quality. I would give it a 7 out of 10, but a pretty solid 7 out of 10. If you like Naruto games, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. You know, definitely worth playing. Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast. It's a racing game, but like an arcade type racing game, but it's also only Ferraris. I think it's made by Sega. I've played it for like 10 minutes. It's okay. I didn't really get it. I don't know if I was playing it wrong, but it didn't feel that smooth. It felt kind of stiff, but I don't know. It's highly rated. That's why I downloaded it in the first place. But I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Siphon Filter Dark Mirror. Really good game, honestly. Surprisingly good. I booted it up a few days ago and I was playing it and I was honestly shocked. It's one of the games that benefits a lot from the Vita having a right stick. You can modify the controls and aim with just using the right stick rather than the default, which is moving with the left stick but then also aiming with the D-pad above it. Like that's just crazy. So being able to add the right stick, it helps a lot. The game runs at 60 frames, which is, you know, obviously in 2022 a game running at 60 frames isn't crazy, but a PSP game running at 60 frames is pretty cool, you know, especially because it's a 3D game. It looks nice, and it plays nice. It's like a stealth third-person shooter, but It feels really good. The body's ragdoll in like a really satisfying way. The guns feel good. You have a lot. You got some nice tools. Really good game. Really good game. Like, remember, I'm rating the games, based on the fact that they're portable. PSP and PS Vita games. I'm not comparing Siphon Filter to anything that you would buy on like a PlayStation 5, right? So I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Valkyrie Profile. I've actually never played this game, but I really want to. It has a nice art style. I've heard some nice music. I've only heard good things. It's really highly rated. I just haven't gotten to it. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Just So Union. Really hard strategy RPG. It's hard because it has these really unique mechanics to it. I'm not going to get into it, but I played this a lot when I was a kid too, and I got my ass beat a lot. Like, I would just play it and then get to a point like where I just would lose, and then I would restart and then play it. That was what I would do as a kid. It is a good game though. It has a good story, it has nice characters, good art style. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Crisis Core, probably the best game for the PSP in my opinion. On the entire PSP library, this is probably the best game, highest quality, best to play. People say they don't like the story because it's it's Final Fantasy. It's a little convoluted, it's a little complicated, it's a little wacky, it's a little out there. I don't really care. I can play a game and completely ignore the story. I love this game because the gameplay is just fun. Really good action RPG. It's fun to just move, control, dodge, block, attack, and leveling up your abilities and getting new ones. It's just really fun all the way through. Fantastic game. I cannot say enough good things about this game. Definitely worth playing if you like Final Fantasy games, if you like action RPGs. I would give this game 10 out of 10. Masterpiece. Tales of the Twin Brave. A spin-off of the Tales of games. They're usually action RPG games. This is a action style Muso beat 'em up type game. Very well made, surprisingly. This came out around the end of the PSP's lifespan in general, like the games that were coming out on it. It came out in 2012. So for a PSP game, it looks pretty nice. It's polished, it has good gameplay, and the one that I have on here, it's English patched. It's not fully, it's only like menus and things like that, like not the story, but it's patched so you can play it. So if you like Tales, it's definitely worth playing. Give it an 8 out of 10, honestly. It's a pretty good game. Metal Slug. I'm going to double this one and the one under it because I know there's another Metal Slug game. I'm not really a huge fan of arcade games. I don't really go out of my way to play an arcade game. But if I was to pick one, it would be Metal Slug. I love the art style, just the look of it. It's really hard. It's one of those games that you only really beat it just from trial and error, just playing and dying and knowing what's going to happen. It's one of those games, but when you master it, it's fun. Yeah, it's Metal Slug. I'm going to give it this one and the one under it, basically the series as a whole, I'll give Metal Slug a 10 out of 10. Go play Metal Slug. God of War, Chains of Olympus, and Ghost of Sparta. Me personally, I prefer the old God of War game style from the original trilogy. So if you like those games as well and you've never played these ones, even though they're not made by Santa Monica, they were given to another studio, I'm pretty sure, Ready at Dawn. It still has the core gameplay. It's still there. It's still very fun. Obviously, this isn't as bombastic as the actual PS2 games, or 3 definitely, but for handheld versions, they're really good. Definitely play them. I'd give them both, honestly, a 10 out of 10. Definitely worth playing. Metal Gear Solid, the very first one. I played it a little bit ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago as the recording of this video, and I got my ass beat. That game, I couldn't get past like the first level. Like, I got up an elevator and then that was it. That's all I could progress through. It was hard. I mean, is it hard because I suck at the game? Yes, because it's old as shit and all the controls are weird and it doesn't hold your hand that much. Yes, but I can still see the greatness. For a PlayStation 1 game, the production of it, I guess, kind of like the cinematics, like the vibe, it really is like very unique, and I can see why people say this is one of the greatest games of all time. It's definitely probably one of the best PS1 games of all time. I have played Metal Gear Solid. I'm familiar with the franchise. Just not this one. I've barely played it. I'd give it a 10 out of 10. Crash 3 Warped. I'm not a Crash fan. I mean, I've played one like a few times. The only one I have played is this one. I've played this one a lot. I've played through a big majority of it, but this was back in the day. I do like this game. I'm not gonna go crazy over it. You know, I feel like you either like Crash or you don't. You know, it's one of those things. As for an old school 3D platformer, honestly, I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10. You know, I don't know why I'm not giving it a 10, but I'm feeling like a 9.5. Tales of Rebirth, Tales of Destiny 2, and Tales of Eternia. I'm gonna combine all three of those. I'm gonna talk about them right now. I'm a huge fan of the Tales series. I've played as many as I can. I don't want to say I've played every single one, but I've played a lot of them. I've beaten most of the ones that I've played. This one, Tales of Rebirth, it got announced pretty recently that the people that have patched previous games that are only in Japanese, this one's getting patched. So I'm very much looking forward to be able to play it. The one under it, Tales of Destiny 2, that one isn't patched, sadly. I don't know if it ever will be. And Tales of Eternia, if we go down a little bit more right there, Tales of Eternia. I've played that one. I've put in a good, like 4 to 5 hours into it. I mean, honestly, for action RPGs, the Tales of series is the golden standard, the best of the best, the one pioneering the ship. Pioneering the ship, I don't know if that's a thing. But all these games, I'll give Rebirth a 10 out of 10. I'll give Destiny 2 a 9 out of 10. And I'll give Eternia an 8 out of 10. Def Jam, really weird fighting game. The Def Jam series as a whole is just this really weird concept of like rappers and hip hop culture into a fighting game. It has really weird controls, but I also don't know if it's also like the controls are weird, but the game is like really deep and complex. It's like a mixture of the two. I haven't played it that much. I remember playing it when I was younger, but it was one of those games I played when I was like really young. So I don't really want to say anything of it really. It's the type of series where Eminem can fight Lil Wayne, that's just kind of crazy. So I'd give this game an 8 out of 10, honestly. The Third Birthday. So this is a third-person action shooter type of game. Get better guns, you can upgrade your character, get new abilities, like a simple, straightforward third-person action game. It's part of the Parasite Eve franchise, and the ones before this one are very different games in tone and in gameplay. So a lot of people they hate this game. They fucking hate this game. Like, it ruined the franchise. It's one of the worst games ever made to them. It also has fan service, which is really weird. But because like she's got like no ass, but like they be putting her ass on the camera. Yeah, I can see why fans of the series hate it. Me personally, with no attachment, I think it's a fun game. One of the best PSP games probably. So if none of what I said bothers you, I would definitely get it. I'd give it a 8.5 out of 10. We're about to talk about the Vita games. Before I get into it though, I'm just gonna quickly show you how my Vita is set up, like the home screen. I have all the icons placed so that you can see the artwork clearly. Just because it's really nice art, except for this one because it's just like a background. But I'm a little OCD with it. All the games are like organized in like a specific way. I'm not gonna say how they're organized. I'm just gonna leave that up to you to figure it out. I guess have some fun with that. I didn't say this earlier about the themes, but this is the song that's playing. Really good song, and yeah, now we're gonna get into all the PS Vita games. God of War Collection. It's a collection of just God of War 1 and 2 on PS Vita. Not the best versions of the game because they run at 30 instead of 60, which is what they run at on the PlayStation. So if you've never played them, I wouldn't recommend playing the Vita versions to start out, but still, if you have played them, it's nice having them, right? It's nice being able to just play God of War 2, like on like your bed laying down. I'd give God of War 1 a 9 out of 10, and I'll give God of War 2 a 10 out of 10. The Ratchet and Clank collection. Ratchet and Clank for me, it was one of those games as a kid where like I never had it myself, but I would play it through play it through like my friends. Other people would have it. Around like the PS3 era, I started to get into it. I've played a Crack in Time, I think it's called, and all the ones after that I've beaten. It's a pretty goated series, especially this trilogy right here. I only hear good things. I've got like an hour into one, and I like it. I feel like I'm gonna beat it eventually. It might take me a really long time, but maybe one day I'll play them all. I mean, it's Ratchet and Clank. You should know about Ratchet and Clank, I feel like. I would give 1 a 10 out of 10, and 2 a 10 out of 10, and 3 a 10 out of 10. Just because they all got good music. Metal Gear Solid HD. This is a collection of Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. Very good games. Very, very good games. 2 of the best games on the PlayStation 2. Maybe 2 of the best games ever made. Some people might make that argument. The only Metal Gear Solid I've beaten, actually, all the way through, is 2. I've played 3, like halfway through, and I've played a lot of 5, but I never beat either of those games. 2 is the only one I beat, and love that game. Really good game. Just it's hard to explain. If you've never played Metal Gear, it's hard to explain why it's so good without just being like it's a cool vibe, but it really is something very unique. It's like a really good mix of cinematics and like a movie experience mixed with like a video game, but also just it has a lot of style and character. Just super hard to explain, but the gameplay, really good style of gameplay, just very smooth, and it's hard to explain. It really, like, there's really nothing, like, there's not a lot like Metal Gear to compare to Metal Gear. You know what I mean? You just gotta try it for yourself. Both these games I would give an 11 out of 10, honestly. Really good games. Gravity Rush. It's one of those games, like, it's good, but it could have been great. The problem with Gravity Rush, I think most people can agree about, is that the world and characters is just flat, and just it feels dead, and it's not interesting. Kat herself, the main character, isn't that interesting either, but the gameplay is fun. The gameplay is unique. It's based on like gravity. You can fly around and float around, and it's gravity, so it feels nice. It is unique and it's good, but it's not great. That's the only problem with it. If you get a Vita, I would still say it's worth playing. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. I take that back. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Tearaway. Really unique game. Again, this game, out of any game I've played, uses the Vita's features. The fact that it has a camera on the front of it, the fact that there's a touchpad on the back of it. The game itself does a lot of cool, fun, wacky things with it. I've only played like 5 minutes, but I downloaded it because it's really highly rated, so I'm gonna assume it's a good game, and based from what I played, I can tell it's a good game. Also has a really cool art style. I'd give this game a 9 out of 10. Uncharted Golden Abyss. Honestly, maybe this is a hot take, I don't think it is at this point, but Uncharted, not for me. I don't want to say it's overrated, but it's overrated. I think 4 is a really, really good game, but even 4, I haven't even beaten it. I've gotten far, but the gameplay is just something that isn't something that lasts all the way through. That's my biggest complaint about the series. You're basically playing through the gameplay just to get to these big set piece moments and watch cool cutscenes. Again, I'm not saying it's bad, it's just not for me. I've only played this one too for like 5 minutes, so I'd give this one like a 6 out of 10. Killzone Mercenaries. Solid first person shooter, maybe one of the best in the Killzone series. I haven't played it much. It's got solid progression, like you just play the game, and through killing people you get money, and with money you can buy new guns. Very simple, straightforward. It looks nice, especially for a Vita game. The resolution's a bit low, like everything's pretty pixelated, but for a game that's, you know, going for the realistic 3D type thing on like a handheld, it looks really nice. I'd give the game a 7.5 out of 10. Unit 13. Very kind of like a actual game with like mobile game elements, like the menus and the structure of the game. It's very mobile game like you just pick a mission and then play the mission. It is fun though. You can change your character, which has, you know, each character has like a thing about them. Like you're playing through each mission to try and get a high score. That's the kind of game it is. But you can pick whatever weapon you want, pick whatever character you want. It's a solid game, especially for a portable game. Like you would want something that's, you know, pick it up, play it for a few minutes and put it down. So for that reason, I would give it a solid 6 out of 10. Like a solid 6 out of 10. Like a 6 out of 10 that you should still probably play. Hot Shots Golf. I haven't played it at all, not even a little bit, but from what I've seen, it looked cool, so I downloaded it. Maybe one day I'll play it. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Persona 4 Dancing All Night. It's a spin-off of Persona 4, but it's a rhythm game. You hit the buttons to match the beat and try to get a high score. It's one of those games, but with Persona 4 music. For that reason alone, it's a 10 out of 10. Persona music, all of it, for all the games. It's amazing. It's goated. So yeah, 10 out of, I've only played it for like 5 minutes. I've played like 2 songs, but it's a 10 out of 10 for what it is. Ollie Ollie 2. Very good indie game. I wouldn't say I like indie games, honestly. Just because, not because they're not fun, but just because, I don't want to say they're not polished either. They're just not what I'm looking for, you know. I like more fuller games, and indie games tend to be, you know, a lot smaller scale. Ollie Ollie 2 though, very fun. You just play through all the levels. You want to try to get high scores, you know, do a lot of tricks and land them. It feels good. It has a nice rhythm to it of pulling off the tricks and timing your landings. And it's not easy, but for this game I'd say that's a plus. It also has really, really good music, like really good music. I'd give it a 8.5 out of 10. Severed. Never played it at all, but again, it's highly rated. I've seen some gameplay, it looks cool. Maybe I'll play it. I'd give it a 8 out of 10. Kreutzler? I don't know how to say the first name, but Kreutzler Sigma. It's like another arcade kinda style hack and slash game where you kinda wanna go through the level fast, but well, I guess, to try and get a high amount of points. It's good, it's simple. You get money, and with the money you can buy some attachments that alter the gameplay a little bit, but it's very straightforward. It's nothing too crazy. Still though, I've only played it for like an hour, so I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. Salt and Sanctuary. It's a indie game that's very much inspired by Dark Souls. I don't know who made it, but it's very good. It's got a good atmosphere, good gameplay. It has all the core elements of Dark Souls besides, you know, the budget and production. You pick a character, make a class, and you know, you go through. I haven't gotten too far, but it works basically exactly like a Souls game. There's bonfires. You can change the gameplay a lot through what skill points you use and what weapons you use. And the weapons have movesets. Like the weapons, it's not like each weapon's the same. You know, even though you might have 2 swords, one sword might have a different move. So, really good game. If you like Souls games, I definitely recommend it. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Gentama Rumble. This is a action Musou style of game with the Gentama characters, with the Gentama license, the anime. I've seen like 20 to 25 episodes of the show. I actually do like it, but you know, watching long anime is just something that's hard to commit all the way to. This game though, it's okay. It's a 6 out of 10 if I've ever seen one. You know, it doesn't have the most content, the gameplay isn't that deep, it doesn't have the best graphics, the music is okay, but if you like Gentama, it's still worth playing. And it's fun enough, like it's a fun hack and slash game, but nothing too deep. Like I said, like a 6 out of 10. Zero Escape, this is a like puzzle kind of visual novel. You know, the reason why I have it on here is because I plan on playing the one that came before it. I think it's 9 hours, 9 days, and 9 doors or some shit like that. I've played that for like an hour, and it's really good. And I've only heard good things about it, which is why I started playing it. I plan to get to this one because it's the sequel to that, but I haven't started it. I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10. One Piece Unlimited World Red. This is a not open world, but like open environment kind of One Piece game. The action and combat is very basic, like very basic. Like it feels basic, it plays basic. Like there's just not much room for depth in the combat. But you know, you're probably not really playing it for that. You're playing it for the characters. You know, you want to see all the One Piece characters talk to each other. The story is okay. It has really nice graphics, but you know, it's not the most deep and complex. You know, it's one of those games where you go into an environment, you get materials, you bring the materials back, you can upgrade the town, and you know, you can level up and upgrade the characters. But again, like the actual combat, playing it, it's very simple. But still, I'd give the game a 7 out of 10. Ys Memories of Celceta. Really solid franchise. The only problem with the whole series as a whole is it's very budget. Like all the games have a budget look, but they make up for that in every other category. The story is usually always good. The gameplay is really good, especially if you like, you know, fast-paced action RPGs, kind of hack and slash kind of games. And the music is also really good. So honestly, the whole franchise as a whole, Ys, highly recommend it. I'd give this game a 8.5 out of 10. Rayman Legends. Very good platformer. They don't make platformers a lot anymore because they suck. I'm kidding, because you know, it's a hard sell. You know, people don't want to play platformers nowadays. It's that simple. This one and Origins, both really good games. This one also surprisingly runs at 60 on the Vita. I was expecting it to be at 30, but it runs at 60, looks really nice. I mean, it's Rayman Legends. This game's been out for a long time. You should probably know about it. Just super good platforming. The levels are really fun. It controls nice. There's a good speed to it, and it also has really good music. Honestly, just for the fact that this is like the last really good AAA platformer that I can remember off the top of my head, I'm just gonna give it a 10 out of 10. You know, I know platforming's not dead completely. You know, there's a bunch of platformer indie games, but anybody trying to play indie games and anybody trying to play an indie platformer. So, Shantae, Half Genie Hero, another indie game, looks good. Another game that runs at 60. I'm gonna keep pointing that out because for portable devices, you know, 60 frames per second is not something that's expected at all. So if it is there, I think it's worth pointing out. Nice art style. It's a Metroidvania type game, I'm pretty sure. Again, I haven't played it, but it's very highly rated. That's why I got it. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 just because Shantae is pretty cute. Disgaea, I think is how you say it. Absolutely loved the whole franchise to bits. The first one I played was 2 on the PSP. All the games are really good, every single one. If you like anime, just anime in general, you'll probably like the games just because they have that, like, the vibe. I hate saying that word a lot, but they really do have the anime vibe, like the way the characters interact and talk, and the comedy. You know, it's good. It's a strategy RPG for one. Really good strategy RPG, really good mechanics. All the games have like a specific mechanic to it, but the core of it, really good. Really fun is the best way I can, like a fun strategy RPG. Because I'm not a huge fan of strategy RPGs. You know, I like Fire Emblem and this, but you know, I don't go out of my way to play strategy games, but these are just fun, like the mechanics of them. Also, the grinding, how much you can power up your character is on another level. I don't think I've ever seen a game let you make yourself this busted ever. It's, you know, part of its charm, part of the reason why it has a following, just because you can grind to the level 9999, but at the same time you can get a weapon that has, you know, so many stat increases that the numbers like fly off the screen. You know, like it's pretty cool. All the games have a good story, nice characters, good music. Really, really, really good franchise. Highly recommend this franchise if you've never played it. I'd give this game and the franchise as a whole, all of them, I'd give this game a 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. I love the series. Grand Kingdom, another strategy type game. I've only played it for like an hour. It has a nice art style. It seems good. The mechanics seem nice. Barely played it. It's highly rated. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Persona 4 Golden. I mean, it's Persona 4 Golden. If you know about Persona, you know about Persona 4. I think it's fair to say this is one of the best JRPGs ever made, ever, period. The fact that you can have it portable on the go, you can play it lying down on bed, it's fantastic. Just quickly go over it. Really good story, really good characters, really good RPG gameplay, like solid turn-based. I don't even like turn-based RPGs, but I like Persona, right? It's a franchise that's highly acclaimed for good reason. If you've never played it because you think you might not like it, it's one of those games where I would definitely say try it. No matter who you are, what kind of games you like, if you've never tried a Persona game, try a Persona game. And 4, especially 4 Golden, it's an enhanced version of 4. Just 4 with more content, more stuff to do. Again, like literally one of the best games ever made, honestly. So 11 out of 10, 12 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Great game. Tales of Hearts R and Tales of Innocence R, I'm going to talk about them both. They're both remakes of DS games. Obviously, compared to what you would get on the console versions of them, the console versions are better, but for what it is, they're really good games. Really good action RPGs. There's not that many action RPGs you can play on the Vita in general, so these two might be the only ones, definitely the only really good ones. So I'm a huge fan of the series. That's why I have all the games on the Vita. I have all of them on Steam. I would give these two, both of them, a 9 out of 10. Something just fell. Wipeout 2048. It's a racing game, but you're not racing with cars. You're racing with like hovercraft. I don't even know what you call them. Like almost like Star Wars type stuff. That makes the driving a little unique because you don't have, you know, like the friction on the ground. Like you're kind of like gliding, so that makes turning feel different. It is really good. The music is nice. It's really pretty, you know, especially for a Vita game. I've only played like 1 to 2 races, but it's a really good game. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Sonic Transformed, another racing game that's really good. And a really good Sonic game. You know, it has Sonic in the title, so I'm gonna count it as a Sonic game. We Sonic fans need to take what we can get because they all suck. So this game, really good driving. It's basically Mario Kart, but it's a little faster. You drive through the power-ups and their weapons are, you know, speed boosts, or you can leave traps. It's a Mario Kart clone, but it's really well made. All the tracks are nice, good music, a lot of content, you know, a lot of characters to pick. Really good game, especially a good kind of game to have, you know, on the Vita, you know, something portable. Give it a 9 out of 10. Grand Theft Auto Vice City and Grand Theft Auto 3, these are both actually ports. You can't get these games on the Vita, you know, through like a disc or something, or a disc, through like a cartridge. You know, these weren't made for the Vita, but these two ports are really, really well made. They're ports of the Android version of the games, but they've been modified and touched up a little bit for the Vita. They also restore, you know, some content like the music, because the licensing, you know, Rockstar lost all the licensing for a bunch of the songs, so later versions of them that you play, they have songs removed, you know, like the main one I can think of is Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, right? These versions have that content restored because they're modded. They also have a few visual enhancements, like, you know, like people got like better looking fingers and hands. I mean, it's really cool what whoever did, you know, like the fact that these are on the Vita, they run really good, no problems, controls fine. I mean, it's Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City on the Vita, so goated, 10 out of 10, both of them. You know, it's Grand Theft Auto, right? You know the deal. Hyper Dimension Action U and Blanc vs. Zombies, because Blanc is just a sequel to Hyper Dimension Action U, and these are action style Musou hack and slash games. Very not the best. I wouldn't recommend these games, honestly, unless you're a fan of the series Hyper Dimension Neptunia. Very simple, straightforward, like really not like very mid games, honestly. But if you like the franchise, or if you like, you know, anime, I would still say get them. I'd give them both like a 6 out of 10. Senran Kagura Estival and Shinobi Versus. Very good games. You know, I'm gonna have a gameplay up so like you can see, you know, like they're very out there, like, you know, like they got all the jiggly bouncy titties and shit, but under all that, they're good games. They're good polished games. Like, they're games that have care, but, you know, people look at it and see all the fan service and they just immediately assume it's some, you know, cheap anime game, which is fair because it basically is, but it does have a lot of care in the right places. The gameplay is the best from this developer, Tamsoft. They're the one. I've gone over a few of their games. They make pretty mid games, but the Senran Kagura franchise, definitely their best work. And I say that it's not that the gameplay is super fun, it's that it's fun enough, but it's combined with the characters and the atmosphere, I guess you could say. You know, the characters, they're all very well represented. They're all unique. They're all fun to just see them interact, and there's a lot of them. Like, you're bound to, you know, find a few that maybe you like. And also, more than that, they're all the characters are surprisingly deep. They all have some sort of like deep, sad, emotional backstory, and it makes it fun to, you know, see all the characters and pick out the ones you like and then play as them. Like I said, the gameplay, it's not Devil May Cry, but it's good. You know, it's good, especially for something on the PlayStation Vita. Both these games, highly recommend them. Again, try not to just judge a book by its cover. If you think you like action games or you like anime, definitely try these two. Either way, play them all. Really good games. Give them both 10 out of 10, honestly. Valkyrie Drive Bikuni, it tries to do the same Senran Kagura gameplay, but it's not as good, not as polished, less characters to play as. It's basically Senran Kagura, but instead of Senran Kagura, it's based off an ecchi anime. Not very familiar with the anime. I've seen like one episode. I mean, it's honestly whatever. It's basically just budget mid Senran Kagura. For that, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Under Night In-Birth, very good fighting game. I'm not too familiar with it, but I downloaded it and played it and tried it out, and it just feels good. Like, it's hard to explain, but I'm not a big fighting game guy, but I've played a lot, and just from playing it, like, it's smooth, the mechanics are nice and fun, it's flashy, but it's also simple. It's not one of those games where to do like a really nice long combo, you gotta like play the game for like 2 years and, you know, play on like a fight stick. Like, it's not that hard to do a cool combo. So, very good fighting game. Honestly, I'd give it a, also really good music and really nice like art style and character designs. All the characters are cool. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 game. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. One of the games that was delisted, like I mentioned earlier, it's Marvel vs. Capcom 3. If you know, you know. If you don't know, the fact that it's Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel Comics versus Capcom, it's already worth playing. Even if you don't like fighting games, the fact that you can have Spider-Man, the Hulk, and Doctor Strange fight Dante, Virgil, and Chris Redfield from it's just weird. It's one of those crossover things that's just really cool, but also really good fighting game, really fast paced. Another one that's simple. You can play it, not know what you're doing, mash buttons, and still have fun. Definitely. Really, really good game. Really good game. 10 out of 10. J-Stars Victory Versus Plus. Between this and Jump Force, I prefer this. Jump Force is a lot more cheap, in my opinion. A lot more of like a half-assed, sloppy type of deal. This game, you can tell that they put a little bit of effort. Like it's not perfect. It's still pretty clunky to control, and the gameplay isn't, amazing. But all the characters are, I think, represented very well. Like their movesets, their powers. It's just fun to like pick Luffy and then use him because he does the jet Gatling gun and it really looks like he's doing the move, right? So that's simple. But the gameplay is fun enough. It has a good amount of content, and the roster is very it's very varied. Like you'll see a lot of characters that you have no idea what series they're from, what anime. Some of them don't even have anime. They only have manga. I'd say it's worth it if you like anime, definitely. Definitely if you like shonen, you like Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, definitely play this game. So I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. All three of these games right here, Muramasa, Odin Sphere, and Dragon's Crown, immediately 10 out of 10. All three of them. Vanillaware games in general are just beautiful. In art and in music, they all got good music, good art. It's just beautiful. Like, it's just playing the games, it's worth the art alone, in my opinion, honestly. Especially if you like anime, you like hands-on animation. Just seeing the games, they're all worth the play. All of them run at 60 frames, which is nice, and they're all really good. We're gonna go through them one by one. We're gonna start with Muramasa. Muramasa is probably my least favorite of these three, but again, still gave it a 10 out of 10. It's like a Japanese, Japanese like samurai period type deal. But my problem with this one is it doesn't have the best gameplay out of the three. But it still has good characters, good story, again, good art, good music, and it's still very much worth the play. Dragon's Crown. More of a beat 'em up dungeon crawler type game, but really good gameplay. All the characters feel fun to play, and they're all unique and varied enough in their playstyle to warrant trying out different characters, maybe playing through it with a different character. It's more straightforward, like the story is more in the background, and it's just like you go into dungeons, get better gear, level up, you get skill points, and you use them to get more skills. It's very straightforward, but it's very good, very polished. Again, amazing art. This probably has my favorite art style and like overall look out of all of them, like the kind of dark fantasy kind of look. But again, 10 out of 10 game. Odin Sphere, I don't know how the fuck you say that. Odin Sphere, left does like, cause I got a lisp too, so that's bad. Odin Sphere, left this, I don't know. Still though, even though I can't say it, my favorite of these three games, definitely. Very straightforward, but not in the sense of like Dragon's Crown, where it's simple. It's straightforward in the sense that it's an adventure. Like it's linear. You're progressing forward in a story, but it still has Dragon's Crown's gameplay for the most part, but with the added progression of, an RPG. So you start off at level 1, level up, get more moves, and it's very straightforward, but it's very well done. The reason why this is my favorite is the story. You play through the game with 5 different playable characters, which is cool to play through, finish the story, and then play a different character who feels completely different, but all the characters are, you know, doing something else, but they all connect to the one greater plot. And it's really cool, really well done. You know, like, you'll start a character and you'll be like, how the fuck does this connect to whoever I was just using? And then you'll play and you'll be like, oh shit, and then, you know, it starts to make sense. And it's really cool, really well done, great art. Probably my favorite soundtrack out of all of them. Very good game. All these games are very much worth playing. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Sadly, the last game or games, never played them. I only have them on here because I know that they're good games. I mean, that's it. I've only heard good things about Danganronpa. It's like a visual novel, kind of like Phoenix Wright kind of game, I'm pretty sure. You gotta like solve clues. But, you know, I think I'm gonna play it one day. If I had to rate them, I'd give them 10. You know, everyone says they're really good games. They're probably the best games for the Vita, so I'd give them. And surprisingly, they're also delisted, so you can't download them off the PlayStation Store unless you've already bought them. So PKGJ coming in clutch. 10 out of 10 games. So that's it. Here, you guys seen the whole Vita. I went over the mods, I went over the games, I went over everything. That's it. The video's over. Thanks for watching. If you actually watched the whole thing, that's crazy. So thanks again. That's the video.